Good morning and welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
And I'm Noah.
And today we have decided to talk about a show that we started watching a year ago, I believe.
Simultaneously at different points in the world.
Quite
You were about
literally.
right here, and I was about right here.
Yep. And we decided that it is time to cover Falcon
And the Winter Soldier.
So,
Dipping our toes back into the Marvel pool of things.
that's okay. This was a fun series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did not go back and dig up all of our WhatsApp conversation texts
Oh,
on
jeez.
this.
I don't even know if I have that app anymore. I'll be
We
completely honest.
burned up the app.
Kuwaiti,
Yeah.
the Kuwaiti data plan.
So what did you think of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Because we actually have not talked about this probably since last May.
You're right. I don't think we've actually talked about it in person.
Nope.
I think the most we've talked about it is over the phone. Overall, it's not bad. It's not great, and it's definitely not horrible. So it's good.
Yes.
It's good. It's about standard as far as Marvel projects go. We've had this discussion where Marvel projects are they kind of like they've elevated it. They've elevated our expectations. Kind of in the way we watch movies change in this manner of they are so consistently hitting the right notes. Like every movie has a little bit of character development. It's got decent action. It's got a flowing narrative that usually works, and they've done it so well, so consistently that they've raised the bar.
Yes.
And anything that just does all that nowadays is just average.
Yes.
To our expectations.
Yes.
So this show is kind of average in that category, but it had some really good moments, some really fun stuff, and a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential, and there's one major gripe I have with this show, but we'll get into that later. But overall, it's a good show.
Well, it's an
good show.
Interesting concept there. That the baseline standard is excellence.
Mm-hmm.
They have very definitely raised the bar.
Stuff with this phase right here.
Yes.
Of the MCU, raised that bar.
Yep. I would not disagree with that at all. So I rewatched this series. Actually, I binged it this past weekend.
Nice.
Because it had been so long since I had seen it that
Nice.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't misunderstanding and confusing things. And
Okay.
So you know my standard for reading literature. Read
Yes.
once for pleasure.
Second for study.
Right. So this weekend of binging was for study.
Yes.
Right. Which you can tell by the high quality green construction paper on which I took my notes. Because,
Yeah. It's a fold out book.
Because that's what was handy in the
Jeez,
house.
you got a back page?
So-
Strap in.
and I no, actually, the thing that I didn't enjoy it as much because I was studying it as much as I did when I was first watching it, where I was just going along for the ride. And there were a couple of sections where I was a little bit impatient to just get through it because.
Plus, this time you're binging it. The first time you were watching it as it was released.
Right, which is the better way of doing it.
Yeah, that's how it was intended to be watched.
The one show that I do not regret binging that was just absolutely wonderful to binge, and we're gonna do everything on this, was Luke Cage.
Yeah. You love Luke Cage.
I love
you
Luke
have
Cage.
been dying
Hey,
to talk about Luke Cage.
Well, not only that, but your sister loves the Luke Cage show. I mean, more than any. She saw one episode of Daredevil, and she was like, "Man, let's go back to Luke Cage." She saw one,
That hurts.
But so the thing that was really nice about Falcon and Winter Soldier is we had Endgame and then we went out on this high in the Marvel universe, and then we were waiting for something else.
Yeah, what could possibly follow this?
And so we had characters that we were familiar with.
Yes.
And
that we enjoy.
Yeah. And we have all the production values that we enjoy, and it gave us just a little more of that universe that we were missing since Endgame.
Yeah.
And that really was the best part about it.
Oh yeah.
Did it tell an engaging story? This whole concept of one world.
Yeah.
One people.
Yeah.
Now, we don't dive.
Yeah, we don't dive into politics. But
the
from
theme of this
story
was
concept,
very political.
It was. Oh yeah, the entire show had a very, very political undertone to it.
And in a time where we have a tremendous amount of how do we want to say
unrest
over the border of our own country, and now here this year with everything that's going on in the Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
This question of open borders is a huge question.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to dive into it. I'm not even going to begin to answer it. All I'm saying is that they had an interesting topic an interesting take on the topic.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
and it works for the world, too, because now the entire planet at this point in the MCU is aware that they are not alone in the universe, that there are aliens, and that one alien just destroyed half of all human life. And what would a lot of people's things be? What is the common thing in these humanity stories is that humans will bind together and they will unite when they have a common threat.
Yes.
But now, if everyone's coming back, do we need to worry about that? The problem's been fixed. The big purple alien doesn't exist anymore.
The big purple alien doesn't exist, but the fact that aliens exist and that there is a bigger threat coming from, outside of our universe is a very real issue that hasn't gone away inside this world, that they live in.
But when you get something as reversed as quickly as that, the population seem to think that, oh, hey, everything's going back to normal. We can just forget that.
Humans will reset forgetting about the threat.
To what they know.
Yes,
to what they feel comfortable with.
This show this past weekend made me think. This house that I live in, right? This house is the biggest house I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Now, from the outside, it looks like it's just this big, wonderful thing. And what people on the outside don't realize is I picked up a fixer-upper. And on the inside, it needs a tremendous amount of work. But the outside, people look at it and they say, ooh, wow, you live in a big home. Well, but if I disappeared for 5 years and I suddenly came back and there was someone living in this home, fixer-upper or not, I want my home back. Mm-hmm. It's a very real problem.
It's a very real problem,
right?
Yeah.
And so I asked myself this question: what if I disappeared? And what if your mother didn't? Mm-hmm. After a certain amount of time, the natural human inclination is going to be for companionship.
Yeah.
And with companionship
comes interruptions in your podcast.
Yeah.
In your video.
So with that, what if I came home and there was not only someone else living in my house, but what if there was someone else married to my wife?
Yeah.
We got a problem. I would want my wife back too. I was like, these are some really intriguing concepts.
Yeah.
What do you do with all of this? And would there be easy answers?
No.
All right, and it made me think of, this is the same question that was raised at the very end of Cast Away, when the main character comes back after 4 years on an island and the love of his life is married with a kid and he wants her back and she can't leave her husband because they've got a kid together. So
if you were willing to move on and find someone else to take that person's spot, you do care about that person.
Yes.
Enough to stay with them.
Yes. So they've presented a very real dilemma.
They've presented this on a global scale.
Yes.
And it's a good premise.
It's
a good premise.
It is.
It's a fantastic premise.
Here is something that they did right. This was a very, very well written series, and I we don't do the list of names of writers and directors, and I don't know who the writers were on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can just say that they got it right. They put the time in.
Yep.
They have a very well-crafted story, well-written. The lines
Yeah.
are entertaining. And on that line, let's go to the one that I think I like the most. The best line of the series. Do you know what it is?
Remind me.
Okay, so they're working on the boat.
Yeah.
Sam looks at Bucky. He says, "Why didn't you use your arm?" And he said, "I don't always think of it. I'm right-handed." It is one of the few actual...
That's funny.
Laugh out loud moments in the series for me. Now, having said that, there was something that bothered me about this series when we first saw it, and I was able to identify it this time, and it has to do with the timeline of events.
Okay.
Had I not looked up online what was the timeline between the end of Endgame and the start of Winter Soldier, it could have been any amount of time.
It could have.
Right.
Yeah.
And had it just stayed with any amount of time, I could kind of buy what's going on.
Okay.
But apparently it's 6 months. Apparently it's been released somewhere. I picked it up on a website, and then talked to whoever, Feige or, it is 6 months. I have to seriously question the ability of a teenager to form, implement, and run such a sophisticated ring as the Flag Smashers in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
And go to Madripoor without superpowers and steal all of the serum from the power broker, who apparently runs a very sophisticated operation and controls everything. And so was she able to actually do that? And there is my big... I'm not buying it moment. But I'm going to own this one.
Yeah.
Had I not investigated the timeline...
It could have, if it had been 2 years, that might have been a little more believable.
Right, okay,
but
so, yeah.
Then comes with the question of, how long was Sam sitting on this shield before he decided to give it up?
Well, yeah, there's that. And then here's the other question. So, Bucky's going through all of this introspection.
Oh, yeah.
Was Cap wrong about him? And I understand the fact that he's as healthy as he is after 6 months is kind of stretching believability just a little bit, but
he was
he worked hard in his therapy.
Hard in Wakanda.
Well, I probably grew more in Wakanda than he did.
Probably did.
Yeah.
And then was called back to action. Disappeared for what seemed like 5 seconds to him. Now that we know what that looks like,
right?
Retrospective. This is after Hawkeye that we are recording this, so if you haven't watched it, go watch it so that you can understand how long these people were gone.
Yes,
because to them it was instant.
Right.
And so he's gone, comes back, is immediately launched back into another battle, and now he's had 6 months to recover from that. And so that's a lot.
The best representation of that is Black Widow's sister stepping into the bathroom.
Yes.
And seeing her reform and the walls of the bathroom, the interior decor of the bathroom changing. That's why I mentioned such a cool effect.
That's why I mentioned Hawkeye, because that's how we know that it wasn't like they stayed there for 5 years. It was instant to them.
Right.
It was cool.
So the
so cool.
why didn't Bucky just go talk to Cap? How quickly after Endgame did Cap die? Here's my question, because I can't imagine after their friendship that they had for so long, 100 years, right?
Yeah.
That they wouldn't stay in touch. And if Bucky had questions about this, he could have just gone to his best friend.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Okay. So those were the two things that, in the realm of a comic book show, stretched my not the credibility, but it just made me question, okay, this one's just odd.
Yeah.
Right. Having said that,
my only real problem with that, so I want to say Walker, absolutely fantastic character. Walker was exactly what he needed to be, because Walker shows you what the alternative to having someone like Sam take over as Captain America is.
Okay.
And that's what, and it drives home. You know what it drives home? You know what it really drives home? It's the message in Civil War. that, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the whole Walker storyline, the USA agent storyline, shows you what happens if Tony was right in Civil War. Because
gotcha.
Government regulation on superheroes, right? Well, who chooses him to take over for Steve Rogers?
Right.
The government does.
Right.
Why do they choose him? He ticks all the boxes.
Right.
Why? Because he's a Special Forces soldier with a good track record, blah, blah, blah. But they don't care about what's actually on the inside. They care about what's on the outside. They care about the fact that he was a good old USA boy from blah, 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 played football in high school, did all these missions. They didn't take the time to investigate and see whether he would be a good candidate in the long run. That is such a government thing to do.
You know,
it drives that point home from Civil War, whether that was intentional or not.
It drove the point home from Captain America for me with Erskine's dying words, which are this.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Because
not a perfect soldier, a good man.
A good man. And Walker
was the perfect soldier.
Well, he was a decent man, but he was not good enough.
He was a decent man, not a good man.
So you remember my story from years ago about the submarine that I was on almost nuking Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we accidentally load a nuke in a torpedo tube and are 30 seconds away from launching when the crew finds out there was a mistake made and the whole thing gets canceled, right?
Yeah.
This is going back decades.
Yeah.
However, when I heard that happen, I thought to myself, heads are going to roll. We're going to get a new torpedo-man chief. We're going to get a new, right?
Yeah.
3 months later, all the people involved were getting awards for catching their mistake. This is the way our government works, right? This is the way our government works. And so what is Walker's complaint? Walker's complaint is, I have all of these awards to remind me of all of these questionable things we did on the battlefield. He knows, right? But his big character flaw is he doesn't learn from his mistakes.
Exactly.
Because he keeps making them over and over again.
Yep.
He does not make good decisions in the heat of the moment.
No.
And his big character flaw is, why are you making me do this? He does not accept responsibility for his actions.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah.
You know, that's what separates him from Steve Rogers
and Sam Wilson.
Yes. Yes.
Because he, and that's everything that U.S. agent is supposed to be. Because that's who he becomes at the end of this.
Yes.
The Dark Captain America. That's how it was in the comics.
The Dark Captain?
Dark Captain America, as in, like,
right.
The bad, the not good one. Not Hydra Captain America, because that did exist for a little while.
Really?
Yeah, long story. But the anti-hero Captain America.
Sure.
The anti-hero Captain America. The other thing about this show, there's just one other issue I have with the show, because the Flag Smashers, decent antagonists.
Yep.
There's plenty of people for them to beat up on. Plenty of well-trained people to beat up on. Walker's fine. Even Sharon Carter coming back. Not bad. She was fun. Zemo was really fun in this.
Zemo was fantastic.
Giving that and that's why I'm glad that Marvel didn't kill him off. Because Marvel has started to, it seems like they're starting to realize, hey, we can't keep killing off our antagonists. We've been doing that too long.
Okay, Zemo was one of those characters when you find out why he's doing what he's doing. He's like Thanos in that you can appreciate his point of view.
Why.
You can understand why he's doing it, and you can understand why he looks at the Avengers the way he does. It is no different than the Martez sisters in
Clone Wars.
Yep. Seeing the aftermath of what the Jedi leave behind. So you have this this theme of, okay, we can have heroes, but with all that destruction comes a responsibility that goes with it.
Yep.
And
Zemo was just fun, and Zemo was just absolutely a hoot.
Well written, well acted.
The dude was having so much fun.
Yes.
With this role.
Yes.
He was having so much fun in it.
The actor Daniel, is it Bruhl? Bruhl, I believe. I know nothing about him. I know nothing about his career.
Nothing. Let's see.
But he was a tremendous amount of fun in this role.
Let's see. As soon as my thing loads up. Baron Zemo, actor. Yeah, Daniel Bruhl. He is Spanish and German.
Spanish and German, okay.
Spanish and German.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Very
good on you, bud.
Yeah. There are certain lines that popped out when I was watching it. I mean, enough that made me write them down because they caught my interest. I met people I would have been taught to hate if I lived somewhere else. It immediately made me think of the musical South Pacific. You have to be carefully taught. You have to be taught to hate and fear, and they make some very, very interesting points, something to think about. And I love writing that's meaty enough that it makes you pause and think about those things. Yeah. This idea of today's heroes don't have the luxury of keeping their hands clean. This concept that Captain America came from a time of clear-cut good versus evil. This mythical time in American history where there was
World War II, where we definitely weren't firebombing cities and dropping nukes.
No, we didn't.
We didn't do any of that. No.
What you had was, so all of Tony Stark's complaints about Cap being the Boy Scout and teasing him about Cap's lines like language, stuff like that.
Captain America's strength as a character, because that character, okay, if the situation he was in was truly that black and white, that character would be boring as hell because he would always be right and there would be nothing challenging him. The problem is Captain America is that upstanding good person, and the situations he finds himself in challenge that constantly. That's why Superman works as a character, is if the situation is saying, hey, your morals are not effective in this situation, or your morals are going to hamper your effectiveness, that's what takes a character that's like the goody two-shoes Boy Scout and turns it into a challenge and gives them development that they have to overcome.
Yes.
And that's what makes the Captain America work, because he is a goody two-shoes Boy Scout, but the situations he's in aren't black and white.
Yes.
And he has to do questionable things and still try to maintain his sense of moral right.
And Sam is going to walk along those same lines.
Yep.
Sam is a counselor, and Sam talking to Carly Morgenthau was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Those were great scenes.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have been nice to see him be able to win with her as opposed to having her check out it. But, at the end of the series. Zemo was correct about the effects of the serum on people.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to ultimately agree with him that there should not be super soldiers.
Yeah.
At all.
No. Yeah. The only ones that it is effective on is Cap. Maybe Bucky. But Bucky didn't even have the actual serum.
He had a variation of it.
He had a variation of it that was created by Hydra.
Right.
So, yeah, Cap was the only person to actually benefit from it. And now there's going to be a ton more black market super soldier serum going around, so we're going to have plenty more to deal with.
So I looked at Madripoor as you were going into it, and I thought to myself, there's one set. I don't know where it is. On Backlot in Hollywood. Is it in Georgia?
Yeah.
There is one set that keeps getting used for Madripoor, Gotham, Blade Runner. Yeah. These cities are all starting to look the same, and they've got the not scaffolding, but the ironwork support structure that makes it look like the elevated is going by, the old train systems. And I'm thinking it might be time to redesign some of these cities because they're starting to look the same. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if this is my complaint about Madripoor, I'm nitpicking here because I really did enjoy this.
Oh yeah.
So that I'm no Boy Scout when it comes to language, right? And in fact, I've been known to cut loose with a few choice words, but I have as I've aged, grown extraordinarily intolerant of using the Lord's name in vain. Now, I don't call people out on it.
Yeah.
But on the inside, I flinch.
Yeah.
I really do. And it seems like it's becoming the go-to for Hollywood writers. People say "God damn it" and "Jesus Christ" like they say the word "the."
Yeah.
And it bothers me. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it once. I'm just going to let it go. Carly Morgenthau asks, how many times do we have to pay with our lives to be citizens of this goddamn planet? Maybe if she spent more time communing with God in His Word, she'd learn how to do that very thing without violating that first commandment. All right, I said it. I'm done. Because these things really, like Hollywood Christianity is not the last dog you can beat with impunity. It really isn't. I mean, you talk about gods and gods and gods, in all of these television series, like, we're watching Moon Knight now.
Yeah.
Dealing with gods, But there's one that we can just, kick around. It bothers me. Stop using it as the cheap go-to for profanity. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it out of my system. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's my mini rant for the day.
The only real other thing that I have to say on this, besides the action, was hit or miss completely.
You were very critical of the stunt fighting when we first talked about it.
It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss. Some of it really good. Some of it really lazy. It just looked rehashed. The first fight where Falcon's flying around and taking on all the aircraft, dope. It's awesome, mostly CGI. But the fight actually on the inside of the set where he's like flicking his wings out and hitting people, really creative. The first fight right before Walker beats the dude to death with the shield and gives us that awesome visual.
Right.
Such a good visual. oh man. But there was a lot that was like, there was nothing spectacular about it. It was just kind of stale, rehashed. It looked like they were doing a lot of the same thing. They're using a lot of thrust kicks. They're using a lot of wide punches, and that's fine when you've got thugs. But they're basically doing all the same stuff. They're patting it out of the way. They're punching. They're grabbing. They're throwing. That's about the choreography for this entire show. There's not a lot of like. You've got people with the super soldier serum. You've seen Captain America, like, drop kick people. You've seen him, dive into someone with his shield, jump up, bash someone with the shield this way, kick someone that way. You can do more. And it's not hard because everything he's doing with that shield can be done. Everything he's doing in those movies can be done with someone who could do parkour or a couple wires. It's not that hard. Give me a little more creativity in the fight scene. The most creative was Falcon's.
Okay, Falcon fights.
Because Falcon fights
like a Mandalorian.
He uses all his tools.
Right.
He uses his wings. He uses his jets.
Yes.
All right. He backflips and kicks out of the way. It's.
I would love to understand the tech behind thinking and then having the wing pop out and hit someone, but actually we'll just enjoy it and go.
Just enjoy it. It's Stark
tech,
right? Probably.
But I watched that fight scene's in a large bathroom, isn't it, or a
Yeah, it
shower
looks
room,
like it,
right?
yeah.
And my thought was, oh, this is Mandalorian fighting. This is using the jetpack, and it's
Yeah.
actually very creative. If you got it and you can
Yeah.
use it, you know,
Yeah.
you might as well use
It's
it.
a little more controllable than the Mandalorian jetpack, so it's really nice.
Probably. I
don't like Sam's reason for not taking the shield. I don't think it's as effective as it could be. And I've mentioned this before. I think
the race issue or
the race issue felt cheap because we were waiting for episodes and episodes and episodes to figure out why he got rid of the shield in the first place. That would have been better supported, and I'm not saying that was a bad motivation. I'm saying by itself, it just didn't do it for me. Because you have a man who has been fighting alongside Captain America for years, went on the run for Captain America, put all his faith in Captain America for years, has helped save the world, was considered a vital component, and was chosen by the man that he so desperately respected. And they make no mention of the enormous weight that carries, the legacy he'd have to live up to, let alone that issue right there. But they make no mention of the carrying on the legacy. They do it a lot with Walker, and they just pass it off. He brushes it off for the most part, like someone in front of the paparazzi would. But Sam never makes any mention of the fact that, how am I supposed to live up to that? I don't even have a serum. You know?
I thought that aspect of it was pretty apparent and implied.
Yeah, I thought so too, but you feel like it would have come up at some point.
Well, yeah, they
maybe Bucky challenges him on it.
Living up to Cap and I am not worthy is...
talking about a man who picked up Mjolnir and beat the crap out of Thanos with it.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, not only was this man a legacy, but he was literally worthy.
Right.
Of everything.
Yeah. I think anybody would have self-doubts about whether or not they could carry on in those footsteps. Everyone is inadequate compared.
Yeah, I feel like that would have just played in a little bit more and given a little more meat to that.
5 minutes of script on it or less probably could have helped. Yeah. Right.
2 minutes of script on it would have helped the entire situation there.
The first time I saw this series and I took a look at the race aspect to that whole question, I was trying to figure out where they were going and were they trying to just, was this ticking off points for fans? Was this virtue signaling? But in looking at it this past weekend, I thought to myself, we had to see Sam experience that.
Yeah.
In order to believe that he truly did understand Carly and truly could say to her, I get it.
And
I think it was critical.
Yeah, that part of the story, absolutely fantastic. And I think that's what made the Carly's storyline work.
Yes.
Because they gave that time and they used that aspect of it.
And they developed it very thoroughly. And what was going on in his personal life and with the family and the community that they came from, his, the storyline with his sister and his nephews, it was interesting. I do not feel that it was overplayed in any way. So, it advanced the story. And in the history of this country, with all the strengths and the weaknesses that we have, there's an aspect of the United States that you and I cannot say that we've ever walked a mile in someone else's shoes in, and I'll just leave it at that.
I just felt it could have been strengthened.
Okay,
because that was because again, they had all the pieces for that side of the story. You had Isaiah Bradley, which was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Because that's an actual character from the comics that has kind of been forgotten, but did exist.
Okay.
And it makes sense if he was in that era of history.
Sure.
That entire storyline makes sense, and it puts more intrigue and depth and these superheroes, they don't always come from good places. Even if the hero themselves are well-meaning, the legacy they come from or the organizations they come from are stained, and that carries through with them.
Look at Black Widow.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and all of them. If you haven't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then you very definitely should tune in and watch this. It's very definitely worth your time. Seeing Bucky smile, seeing him find happiness is a wonderful thing to give to his character.
Yep.
Watching him flirt with Sam's sister was a riot.
That was hilarious.
That was great. The respect between Bucky and the Wakandans.
Yes.
Even in conflict over Zemo, I just absolutely love it. I
love
actually,
Wakanda.
Yeah, the whole Wakanda culture.
Fun. Yeah.
You're right. And Black Panther showed that they're not all like, it's not an all goody two shoes.
Yeah.
You know, morally
they
perfect.
really
They've got their own problems.
Yeah.
You know, within their own community.
Plus, they're just interesting to look at. Like every time they walk into the scenery changes.
Oh yeah,
because they're so unique.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very definitely.
Cool. It's so cool to watch.
So, probably the big thing. I'm gonna save this one for last.
Okay.
Where I truly felt cheated. Where I truly felt was the conversation between Bucky and Yuri. That whole need to make amends was set up, but we never saw it take place. I waited all episode, the whole series to see it, and I knew it was going to come at the end. I knew it was going to be at the end, and then all we see is him walking through the door, and you know, I very definitely felt cheated. I wanted to hear what he had to say, and I've been trying to remember. You and I were talking about a series just recently where two characters sat down and had a heart-to-heart, and we both went, okay, they finally said what we wanted them to say. And
what was it?
You remember what I'm you know, and so we keep getting these hints in relationships in different television series where amends need to be made, but they're never actually thoroughly discussed on camera. And
there was something in Jack Ryan. But I don't think that's what we were talking about.
That's not what we were talking about. But so I felt cheated. I wanted to see the conversation with Yuri. I wanted to see Bucky's first time truly saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Following through on what Sam said, do the hard work.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Yuri's reaction. I wonder if they filmed it and it ended up on the cutting room floor.
Probably.
You know.
Probably.
But at least they didn't drop it completely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, would you like to see season 2 of this?
No. You want to know why? Because I'm tired of them trying to establish this with TV shows. I want to see them go back to movies.
Okay.
I'm ready for the MCU to start picking back up with movies.
Well, they are, aren't they?
They kind of are.
Movies that were not particularly.
I mean, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
Has Wanda in it. Scarlet Witch. So I'm really excited for that because that comes out soon, like here within a few weeks.
Oh, I thought it was out already. Is that out yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. At the time of this recording, I'll verify. We'll go figure it out.
I still have to catch up on, I think, 5 Spider-Man movies.
That you do too. Well,
you know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 now.
I have seen 2 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and growing up, Spider-Man was my favorite comic book character, but when it came to the movies, it's not one that I've gone to do.
I think we're rabbit holing now, though.
Yeah, you know what?
I would like to see these 2 characters show up and start interacting with the other characters in the MCU now, because we need to start. I'm trying to bring it back.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Season 2. I don't think a season 2 is needed, because this story was all about establishing Falcon as the new Captain America, and giving Winter Soldier some closure.
Okay. So
that they can show up and Sam can now take his place as the new Captain America on the new Avengers team moving forward.
Do you think a Sam Wilson Captain America standalone movie would sell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Because I would watch it.
Oh, I would very definitely watch it.
And the show did well. I believe it would work. So...
Well, if they keep showing Antony Mackie without a shirt on, it'll get a certain segment of this.
Oh, yeah.
That man is built.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden in all the...
I know, he wears baggy shirts.
I know. You know. All right, so I highly recommend Falcon and the Winter Soldier if you have not seen it, and I would love to know what your thoughts on this series are.
Yeah, it's It's a very good one. I think it was a good piece. It was a good refresher after WandaVision, because WandaVision was so out there, and this one kind of brought everything back down to reality. It's a good bridge between Endgame and whatever they're doing next, because we still don't know what's next.
Yeah,
we kind of know what's next, but we don't really know what's next. But we can discuss that later.
Thank you for tuning into this edition of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Over there.
We are officially recording now.
That sounds good.
Okay. Let me crack this bad boy open real quick so it doesn't pop in the actual video. doesn't peek it. Okay.
One of our last videos. No, it's the last one that got edited. Is the Inside Out. We recorded it, and that's where we decided to do the 3 Star Wars ones, which we'll have to talk about that. But at the very end of that, when you just popped off with your rant, is when I looked at the camera and said, maybe a smaller monster next time.
Okay.